prison cells are waiting for far-right rioters despite major overcrowding problems at most UK jails. We're going to read into this more from Byline Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from Byline Times with the headline of prison cells waiting for far-right rioters despite major overcrowding problems at most UK jails. The Justice Minister has said that the government will make sure that anyone jailed over the riots has a prison place waiting for them. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. Excuse me. So, one of the biggest, so obviously this is related to the rioters, but also one of the biggest problems that we've had, that we've talked about before, is the overcrowding in the prisons. Prisons are facing a major overcrowding, and obviously with what's happening with regards to the riots that are taking place at the time of this recording, we still don't know when it's going to settle down, but obviously a lot of these people are going too far with their actions. There are some who are simply standing there with their phones. There are others who are just shouting abuse. There are some who are going too far, chasing down people of different colours, people holding weapons they should not be holding. There are people who have attacked police officers and dogs. There have those been who have vandalised cars, homes, completely ambiguous. There are those who have tried to set fire to vehicles as well, or to hotels, for example, where asylum seekers have been housed. If people don't like, I just want to put this out there. If you're somebody who was part of who was at those scenes, and you were just sitting there with your camera or standing there with your camera, and you played no part in any of the thuggery whatsoever, if you were with an anti on an anti-protest, or part of these so-called rioters or these thuggery, if you were just simply walking there or simply being footage of there, you're not helping the situation. And this position that people have taken about the two-tier police system is also nonsense, and there's a lot of disparity to that as well. If you happen to be arrested simply just for being there, well, that's your fault. You shouldn't be there. What purpose do you have to be there? You're saying, "Oh, I'm there for the protest." It's not a protest what they're doing. You know, the vast majority of people who are involved, they're not there for protesting. They're there to cause trouble. So you're better off not being a part of it if you don't want to find yourself in prison. I'm just putting that out there. Don't have to like it, but you're putting yourself at risk by doing that. If you know, the best way to express your anger and frustration, go on, tweet about it, post about it. But you know, if you go down to these so-called protests and they're not protests, and things start getting violent, and you just happen to get arrested, get caught in it, even though you allegedly or not didn't do anything wrong, I'm sorry, but you know, you cannot blame the police, because at the end of the day, you're choosing to be there. You're choosing to put yourself at risk. That is the risk you take by being a part of these. Okay? I'm just pointing that out there. Now, as far as prisons, cells, and the prison problem that we have, as we have covered on numerous occasions. So, are they going to have enough prison cells? Are they going to have enough for these people? Because there's quite a lot of them having the books thrown at them. The courts are being put into overdrive, the justice system, in order to get these down as well. So there's a lot of justices in courts. Time slots and that are being extended in order to get these people, a lot of these people who are responsible, processed through the courts, so that they can basically have the key thrown at them and thrown in jail. Is the Labour government doing enough to make sure they deal with the jails? Now, one of the things I said that they could potentially do, if they don't have enough prison cells, if they do get to that point where they're really struggling with capacity, I don't think they're at that point, but they are close to it, is they could let people out a bit earlier than they planned. I know they had a new policy in a new law in, excuse me, that they've introduced to try and alleviate some of the problems already. But perhaps some of the ones with the less fringes of crimes, perhaps maybe they should just, rather than just let them serve their time, let them out and let them fill the rest of their time doing community service instead. The much less fringes of crimes that they have caused. I think that might be one of the ways they can do it. There are many ways that they can help reduce the numbers in the prison cells in order to bring these people who have caused much damage and fear to people. I think that's something that they can do. But let's read more into what Byline Times have had to say here, you guys. So, 2/3 of UK prisons are dangerously overcrowded as the new government looks to urgently find places for hundreds more people as race riots continue across Britain. And after Labour pledged to find prison spots for thuggish minorities involved in far-right Islamophobic riots that have raged since July the 30th, Byline Times analysed government's data on prison capacity to find out if the UK jails have any space to house them. Of the country's 120 prisoners, 75 of them are already exceeding the safe capacity set out by the Ministry of Justice, and most of the prisons are not already full, only a few inmates away from being so. In some cases, they have space for less than 10 extra prisoners. Capacity is so limited that just a few hundred detainees would be enough to completely overwhelm the system, the data suggests. However, the Justice Minister Heidi Alexander told BBC Radio 4 Today programme on Tuesday that we will make sure that anyone is given a custodial sentence as a result of the riots and disorder, there will be a prison place waiting for them. In response to a disorder sparked by a stabbing attack at Southport yoga class, the government introduced 567 additional prison places that were due to come forward at the end of the month, Alexander is reporting as saying. In March, prison governors were told by the Justice Minister Alex Short to send prisoners home by 2 months early to free up cells because 99.7% of prisons were full. At that time, the Daily Telegraph reported that male prisons had just 238 spaces left of our operational capacity of 85,000. While women's jails were slightly less full, 96.9%, but had rooms for 118 more people. Byline Times also learned that the urgent notice and a type of very rare intervention were serious concerns are identified, having been issued more prisons in the last 13 months than the previous 3 years combined. One of those was HMP's Walsworth in London, the country's second largest prison, which houses around 1,600 prisoners across 5 wings. Inspectors describe it as safe and inhumane, citing dangerous overcrowding, vermin infestations, and rising violence. And they said without the risk of inmate suicide or escapes were ever present. And speaking to Open Democracy back in May, the former Conservative Prisons Minister Rory Stewart described the state of the UK prisons as perhaps the most shameful single aspect of society. Overcrowding is detrimental to prisoners' physical and mental health and can increase violence and exacerbate existing problems. Yeah, this is something we've talked about on a number of occasions about the prisons, is that the physical, mental health and the well-being of them, especially if those cells that they're in, not at least up to simple basic standards for them. I understand. I know people have this perception that all prisoners should be treated in filth and whatnot, but no, we're not like Venezuela's prison system. We're not like Brazil's prison systems. We shouldn't be treating our prisoners like that. Yes, of course they need to go in and do the time, of course, but we shouldn't. We don't want them being so broken that they end up coming back out and then doing the same things again. We want to ensure that people who go through our prison systems are rehabilitated and released back into society a better person. And we'll see it's very difficult to do that when you've had a government for 14 years that has reduced a lot of the finances out of the prison service as well as other things. Spokesperson for Howard League of the Penal Reform told Byline Times that when prisons are asked to house more people than it is designed to, it piles more pressure on people working there and makes it harder for people to meet the needs of people living there. For many people, this means being looked in an overcrowded cell for 23 hours a day with nothing to do, and at a time when physical state of prisons is getting worse, the spokesperson added. In October 2023, the Ministry of Justice confirmed that it had stopped all non-essential maintenance work because prisons were simply too crowded to allow the closure of cells that such work would entail. The Howard League for Penal Reform noted that this meant rules were being broken in terms of cells being adequate for health. As overcrowding pressures continue, however, it's becoming increasingly clear that cells are being certified as adequate as adequate when they are not. The newspaper's findings come as Labour announced a space of plans to try and reduce the scale of overcrowding in prisons, including releasing certain inmates who have served 40 to 45% rather than the current 50%. The strain on the system will be exacerbated by the party's pledge to find cells in the more than 400 people who have already been arrested since the riots began. A day after the stabbing attack that resulted in the death of 3 children, 5 more children and 2 adults were also critically injured. So at the time of this recording, we've had up to 400 people. And obviously every day that passes, there's riots obviously been taking place. So that number's obviously going to be even higher. So where are we going to put them all? Stephen Parkinson, Director of Public Prosecution, said around 100 charges have been laid so far over the riots. The Mail Online reported on Tuesday that a piece that named and shamed those arrested so far. In measures reminiscent of the 2011 London riots, magistrate courts are operating around the clock to process rioters and release mugshots of some suspects after they have been charged with publication of reporting. Neil Bastu, who served as Britain's leading counter-terrorism officer from 2018 to 2021, called for long sentences for those guilty for the most serious offences during the riots. Trying to set ablaze a building with people inside, many of whom you have made clear you detest, is an act of violence against people and property with a racial cause designed to intimidate a section of the public, be it Muslim or asylum seekers, he told The Guardian. Not only does this fit the definition of terrorism, it is terrorism. It's nothing short of an attempt at a modern-day lynching, and the people who did it should be facing life imprisonment, not a 5-year sentence for violence disorder. Bassett also called those organising the violence to face prosecution. Reacting to Labour's new policy announcement, Catherine McGuinness, a member of the Open Justice Initiative campaign group, suggesting more support was needed to ensure people, when they leave prison, to be able to re-enter society that aren't at risk of immediate being recalled. The reoffending rate is around 25.5% for the overall prison population. When all these people are going, where are all these people going to go? Because it's a lot of people going to be released homeless, McGuinness told Byline Times. There's more of an issue to think about here, other than prisons are overcrowded. They're overcrowded because the courts are putting people in for ridiculous reasons. Yeah, this is why there needs to be some changes in the laws. That won't be happening for a while. Because of the Conservatives made the laws stringent on less minority things. So people have been arrested for, unfortunately, for minor things, which is really, really annoying. McGuinness said that at one prison she was in, there are rats chewing through the walls. The building had been condemned, and the prisons paid a fine every year to keep the building open. There was mold growing up the walls and on the windows. I was in a room with 3 beds in it. We were all on top of each other. The room was big enough. I was only big enough for 1 bed. There was another cell I can only describe as a cupboard. You have to walk into the room one side to fit past the bed. A spokesperson for the MOJ said prisons are in crisis, playing significant pressure on the whole justice system. That's why the new Chancellor has taken immediate action to put our jails on a more sustainable footing and prevent the breakdown of law and order. They stressed that HMP's Walworth is working on improvements since the urgent notice. Yeah, since the urgent notice, but it's still a massive problem, guys. And yes, the reoffending rate is obviously 25.5% of the overall population there as well. But I mean, I know some people don't like this premise of being called terrorist for what they're doing. I understand some people don't like that term, and there will be people in the comments who will try to defend and try to justify why they do what they're doing. But there's literally hundreds of footage every single day coming out of them. Literally, like, what is smashing someone's house, smashing a car? That's, by the way, someone who's actually a white British person. What is that going to achieve? What is setting someone's car on fire going to achieve? What exactly are robbing a Greggs store going to achieve? What exactly is burning down a Citizens Advice Bureau going to achieve? Whether you like it or not, you guys who try to defend this, you cannot defend these actions. You cannot defend these actions. You are scaring people. You are frightening people. And you're frightening, just as importantly, British people who have been born and raised in this country, and you have a problem with them simply by the colour of their skin. You're blind. You're completely blind. These are people who have helped, who've contributed and played and are part of our society. They're British. They're English, just like you and I. but you see differently in them simply by the colour of their skin. And that makes you a racist. Plain and simple. You are a racist if that is your problem. You can't use the term "I'm not racist," but when you have a problem with people of different skin colour, you just can't argue with me. I saw a black man getting attacked and swamped by people, and luckily there was police there just in time to stop before he got overwhelmed on the footage. And this person wasn't even an immigrant or an asylum seeker. He was a British lad, a black British lad, trying to live his life like everything else. He did an interview, and he did an interview where he was saying, like, I'm not from another country. I do have he's originated from Africa, but like, he's born and bred here. He's lived his whole life here, and he was targeted simply by the color of his skin. That's pure racism. It's not. There's nothing British about what's being done here. There's no value in what they're being done here. You're not saving the country. You're destroying the country is what you're doing. You can't destroy a country you're not going to save a country by destroying it. You're not helping anyone. You're not helping anyone with these actions. Not even your own cause. But what do you guys think about this? What do you guys make of the prison system? What do you guys make of the rioters? Do you think, that the government will be able to have the capacity to be able to deal with it? Let me know your thoughts and more down in the comment section below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.